Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to New Wave Global. I'm Rabia Mehmood. New Wave is an independent news site looking at the world through a South Asian lens and relies on your feedback. Please do watch, like, comment, subscribe, and give us feedback on our interviews. The incumbent government has announced that they will give support and monetary compensation to the families of the victims of enforced disappearances, and this amount is going to be 5 million each for about 2000 families. Out of these 2000 families, 1000 families will be prioritized on basis of urgency. While this announcement is in line with international humanitarian standards, because compensation, adequate compensation and reparation is part of providing justice and accountability to the victims of enforced disappearances and their families, because families are also considered to be victims. This is a bit suspicious in Pakistani context because Pakistan has not ratified the treaty. We don't have a domestic law against enforced disappearances. And of course, despite there being a commission of inquiry and courts being there, justice and accountability is a bit of a dream when it comes to this crime. To speak more about this, we have with us Amina Masood Janjua, who is the chair of Defense of Human Rights Pakistan. And it was the first organization of its kind which started documenting cases of enforced disappearances in a formalized way. And also, this organization provides legal and social support to the victims as well. Amina is also the wife of Ahmed Masood Janjua, who was forcibly disappeared in 2005 during the tenure of General Pervez Musharraf. It was one of the most highlighted cases of enforced disappearances in Pakistan, and to this day remains unresolved. Now, Amina, I want you to tell us what you think about this support package announced by the Law and Justice Ministry. And do you think this is going to be a step in the right direction? Also, this issue that there are only 2000 cases in Pakistan, right? It's not just 2000 cases, because your organization and other organizations, other collectives have documented thousands and thousands of cases over the past 2 decades, the Baloch being the highest number of victims of enforced disappearances. So, yes, can you please tell us what you think about this announcement?
Thank you so much, Rabia, for having me. This issue has been like very much prolonged now. It's been like 22 years that we are facing this kind of government oppression on its civilians. And recently there has been an announcement by the minister, who is the Law and Justice and Human Rights Minister, Azam Nazir Tarar. And he announced that in a presser that the government is very much like the mother of the citizens, and they feel very keenly about their how oppressed they are, how crisis they are going through. So they have announced 5 million package, 5 million rupees for each victim family, provided that their loved ones are disappeared for the 5 or more than 5 years. So there's a condition in it that if there is less than 5 years, then there will be no economic package for them. And they're also saying that this is an economic package, realizing the economic needs and the amount of burden they have been facing and torture and so on. So we are trying to relieve this kind of economic pressure. It's not compensation, and it does not mean that the case will be closed. So the search will go on, and this is not compensation. It's just the economic relief package. So the concept is good, I would say, and I would appreciate it. But how will the criteria have to, some concerns about the criteria, because if there's a victim who has been suffering for 1 month, for 1 day or for 10 years or 10 days. Of course, there's a difference of grievance, but if they are enforced disappeared, they should be compensated. And economic crisis is for everyone. Mostly like 90% of the cases which we are dealing with are below the poverty line. So we can say that almost like 90% of the cases do need economic relief package. But yes, when they approached us and when this announcement came, they were like invasion of so many calls which were coming and day in and day out. And we were trying to pacify the victims and to convey to them that this is just an announcement. There's no further development since then. It was announced on 3rd of August, but now it's almost the whole month has gone, but there's been not a single step has been taken. So, and many times it has happened that they announce, but they don't really do anything. So
So,
that is
Amina,
why we are teaching the families not to have very high hopes.
okay.
And also
So
we
just
are receiving like
go ahead.
different kinds of reactions. One category of people they are not happy. They are like retaliating and they are saying, what does that mean? It's a confession on the part of the government that they have killed our loved ones. So that is also the kind of reaction which we are receiving. That whether they have killed their loved ones and now they want to pay off or give this amount so that we just keep our mouths shut, or they just want to pay this money and then there will be no more talk of our case. The case will be closed, or this is the case. So this is the three kinds of people there are some who are very desperate and who are keen to have this amount for their, their miseries and tortures which they are going through.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so there's a lot to, unpack here, but so compensation is a part of its reparations that governments, according to international law, must pay adequate compensation, right? Because if a government, according to international human rights law and the treaty, sorry, not the treaty, the convention against
Convention.
disappearances, right, which Pakistan has not ratified, which of course the UN, again, the committee to for elimination of racial discrimination, has again asked Pakistan to ratify this convention, and also asked for putting an end to enforced disappearances based on ethnic discrimination, because there's a heavy tilt, like as we know, the Baloch victims are in a much higher number than other ethnicities, and then so are the Pashtuns. So that is there. But so this is tricky, right? Compensation is important, but answers are important. Justice and accountability is important. And Pakistan state has done this before as well, right? I mean, like the former DGISPR spoke of addressing this issue of enforced disappearances. You met him a few years back, I
Yes,
believe
yes,
2019 or something. And so the state has to come forward, apologize, acknowledge the case, and of course there has to be accountability for those who disappeared people, but there has to be an acknowledgement. In Pakistan's case, it looks like there is an acknowledgement, right? But
yes.
it's not like an outright confession, but it is. My thing is that this government has come forward and announced this, whatever its agenda, it's trying to do something, push things forward. Then before that, there was the previous government, which was a coalition set up. They also set up a committee which you engaged with them, the Baloch activists engaged with them, others did. Before that, there was PTI. During their time, there were like quite a few people who were also released, specifically in Balochistan and Sindh. But then disappearances also continued at the same time. Like, there was a backlog, and then there were more people who were disappeared. Before that, there was another government which addressed it, and of course, when leaders are in opposition, they are very vocal, as we've seen. So, I mean, I have spoken to you about this before. You have been seeing multiple governments, multiple people from the armed forces also addressing this thing. And you have seen multiple Supreme Courts and High Courts addressing it. I mean, we had Shahbaz Sharif in the previous tenure show up at
Yeah.
Islamabad Court, right? He was summoned, but nothing really moves
Yes.
forward. What do you have to say about this? Do you have what do you feel about it, right? Not the other families, but you as an activist, campaigner, as a member of the family of a, of a victim family.
Yeah, I feel like there's a completely lack of they don't feel exactly what the families feel. And all the time it's happening that whoever is in the opposition, they would come with us, they would come to the camp, they would sit with us, even they would cry with us. And they will give us really tall promises that when our government is going to come, then there will be no more, not a single case of disappearance will be accepted. This was the promise given to us by Mr. Imran Khan. But when
Mm,
his government came, he really tried to solve this issue. And there
mm.
was a law as well, which was brought forward by Madam Shirin Mazari, and it was criminal law amendment bill. Nothing happened to that bill as well.
It
We
disappeared.
we kept on saying that in the coalition government and then in the caretaker government, this bill was constantly coming to Senate and going back to Parliament. So it happened so many times that it was now null and void. It has been nullified altogether, and it has to be tabled altogether again. So all the hard work which was behind this bill is totally gone down the drain. So we have like very little confidence in the political leadership now. Although
Mm.
the courts are calling them again and again. The caretaker Prime Minister Anwarul Haqqar was called by the Islamabad High Court. Then Shehbaz Sharif, the Prime Minister who was in the previous government, coalition government, then he was called by the Islamabad High Court. And they were look at the statements they have been giving. They gave that okay, we just give us 2 months and this issue will be sorted out, and there'll be a solution will be announced within 2 months. And after 2 months, we could not even got hold of the prime minister, and only an SHO level officer came to the high court and simply tried to divert the court. So this is the level of seriousness. We don't have that much like trust in the political leadership, but also because they are not the political institutions, are not the ones who have actually abducted or got hold of our loved ones. This is
Mm, they
another
are.
thing. So although how much they try, they don't really have them. So this is another question. That is why we also try to send letters and, through social media also try to knock at the doors of the military. Because previously they have accepted these claims. And as you also met DGISPR in 2019, and he categorically mentioned that our heart goes out for the families of the disappeared. It was a big thing to say. And
Mm.
we have made a committee in the general headquarters. We have made a committee which is looking at the agonies and miseries and how to solve these issues. So, but nothing came out of that as well. So there's a need of, maybe all the elements and all the people who are involved, institutions need to sit down and find a way forward once and for all.
So I have a
So this is
question
that.
about the role of the courts, because I mean the courts have also just been holding on to these cases for decades. There's a backlog, there is, and they have, there are cases, like cases that we can count on, like our hands, where they did get compliance, but they've also failed to get compliance from authorities on this issue. And some have just like let the cases be. They keep on, like, they remain pending. So what about now the role of the courts when it comes to these cases? And what are, because I mean, because you are practicing and you are also representing people, and you are engaged in multiple, cases at the time. So just like quickly tell us about what's that like at the moment for you and your organization.
Yeah, it happened that in 2018, all the cases of the disappeared were moved from the Supreme Court to the Commission of Inquiry. So that was the time of Justice Saqib Nisar. Okay, then we started appearing before the Commission of Inquiry, but we also started filing our cases in the Islamabad High Court. So we received quite a good response from the Islamabad High Court, and around like maybe 30 plus cases are still going on and they are pending. But once in a while, people do come back by the efforts of the Islamabad High Court. And it was the Chief Justice of Islamabad High Court, Mr. Athar Minallah, who mentioned that the chief executive is the one who is actually responsible for the unofficial state policy of enforced disappearances. And he has to be tried under Article 6. If they come up with, if they don't get the solution done, if they don't come up with a, with a reason why it is still continuing and why there is no way forward. So, but now we also saw from the Islamabad High Court that there was a landmark judgment in the case of Myra Sajid, that for the first time compensation was announced. For the first time, subsistence allowance was given to the family. It was equal to the amount of the income of Mr. Sajid Mehmood, who was disappeared in this case. And there were fines which were imposed on the government functionaries whose inefficiency was involved in this case. So, but neither the compensation was given, neither the subsistence was given, neither there was any fines imposed. Rather, the government went against this court order and appealed it in the another bench of the Islamabad High Court.
Yeah, and when
And
we
that
say
appeal
government,
is going on for the last 5 years.
yeah, and when we say government, we mean different governments, the then government, which was PTI, and then PMLN has
Yes,
done similar
exactly.
things, and PPP they're all
Yes,
complicit in this regard, right?
they are all complicit, exactly. So now,
So,
there was like many petitions which I had clubbed together and I filed it in October 2021, and which was not accepted until January this year, 2024. And I was given just one hearing in which Chief Justice of Pakistan, Qazi Faiz Isa, was hearing the case. He came up with like, just tell us what you need from the Supreme Court. And it was like a very big thing. And I said that I just want the truth for the enforced disappeared. Justice and truth, obviously. And then there were again like very bold remarks about that we are going to just not just do justice, but we will also take care of all the production order cases, all the relevant matters of internment centers and so on. And even the commission of inquiry, there will be accountability for the commission of inquiry, what they have been doing in all this while, like 14 years down the line, and they haven't been able to curtail this heinous crime. So even there was a huge check on this commission of inquiry as well. But unfortunately, what the situation is right now, that after that January 2024 hearing, there has been no hearing at all up till now in the Supreme Court of Pakistan. High Court Islamabad is hearing, and also the other high courts of the country, they are hearing, but these hearings are not enough, not at all enough to curtail this issue or to put a stop at this heinous crime. Rather, it's just giving like adding to the pain and agony of the families who are coming to the courts with a lot of high hopes, raised hopes, but when they go back home, there's complete darkness before their eyes. And the commission of inquiry is another pain which has also been labeled by the High Court Islamabad, that this forum adds to the agonies of the missing persons families. So right now, if we talk about all the levels of justice or the mechanisms of justice, no mechanism seems to be right enough or active enough to give us justice the way
Okay.
we want it.
Amina, thank you so much for speaking to us and giving us your insights. And thank you to our viewers for watching. Khuda Hafiz.